Hi, namaste, and welcome to a yet new episode of Drag Me to Heaven. My name is Patruni Shastri, aka Suffocated Art Specimen, aka SAS, and I'm here to kind of bring conversations about drag and faith and how exactly they intertwine with each other via Drag Me to Heaven. So far, we have done a lot of conversations with drag artists across the world. So, if you are catching up with our podcast, please go ahead and listen to all the episodes which we have done it in the past. You can also write to us if you have any questions at pcsas number 3 at gmail.com. We would be more than happy to listen to you, understand, and address some of the queries which you have. So today, I'm super delighted as well as honored to share that this episode we have a guest who will be kind of coming from the much talked group of Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and they are an icon. They are the most photographed nun in the world. They're an activist as well as a fundraiser. They are a founder of the Stop the Violence campaign, creator of hashtag My Name Is Movement to allow users to identify authentically on Facebook. They're also a writer and an event host. So, without any further ado, let me quickly go ahead and bring into the conversation of the icon, Sister Roma. Sister Roma is a part of Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and somebody who has been the voice for the LGBTQI plus communities since the AIDS pandemic, and I'm honored to kind of bring them into this particular conversation. So, without any further ado, let me go ahead and chime in with Sister Roma. Hi everyone, my name is Patruni Shastri, aka Suffocated Art Specimen, aka SAS, and this is 1 o'clock and 30 minutes at midnight in Hyderabad where I'm sitting. And this particular podcast started with a very idea of bringing conversations about faith and drag, and I think my purpose of life has been fulfilled, at least for today, where I am kind of meeting and having a communication with a star, somebody who has been who's also been a figure of LGBTQI plus rights, HIV awareness, and somebody who's also part of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, coming ahead and sharing with us some very wonderful anecdotes. I'm super excited, and thank you so much. With this kind of throat, which is just coming out from the grave, I'm really kind of excited to invite Sister Roma all the way from SF Sisters. Hi, Sister Roma, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you, and I will not ask why your throat is sore. That's none of my business. That's not what we're here to talk about.
It's just the cold. I
Oh,
think
okay.
even visiting US, I'm still intolerant for the cold in India, which is very weird. But having said that, it's been like this. I've been constantly speaking with people, and somewhere or the other way, strained my throat. Having said that, I'm having a good cup of tea to kind of lubricate it and get into shape. So to start with, you are a global star. Everybody knows you, and everybody knows the idea of Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. However, for the audience who are kind of coming and chiming in from India, we would really like to know, how did you start being a part of Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and also if you can give us a little bit of a history about Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence in a more personal level, so that we can kind of kickstart this conversation.
Absolutely. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are basically a human rights activist fundraising organization. That is really where our roots stem, and that's really still the focus of and the purpose of our organization. It was started right here in San Francisco in 1979 on Easter weekend, which is a very high holiday, for many Christians. And the sisters decided that they were going to go out and basically just fuck with people. Like they had these nuns habits that they had borrowed from a convent in Iowa, and they put them on. They didn't wear the makeup that is our trademark today. There was basically just men with beards and nuns habits, and they went all over the Castro and the Mission and the Haight, and then out to the gay nude beach. And one of our founders, Sister Vicious Power Hungry Bitch, who is now known as Vishnu, likes to say that they caused psychological car crashes everywhere they went. Nobody had ever seen anything like a male presenting nun. It was such an iconoclastic image that many people wouldn't dare even play with. But they did. And they decided that they were onto something. So they started the organization, and that was in 79. And shortly thereafter, HIV/AIDS started to ravage the queer community, and gay men were getting sick and dying at alarming rates. And the sisters really found their purpose and sprung into action. The sisters were the first group ever to produce a safer sex pamphlet called Playfair that we still produce today. It used plain language and humor and illustration to educate the community and protect how to protect themselves from sexually transmitted diseases. The sisters were also the first group ever to hold a fundraiser in San Francisco to raise money for people who needed help because HIV/AIDS was so attacked people so visibly that there was a lot of fear and stigma around the disease. People lost their jobs. Quite often they would lose their homes, and even their friends and family were afraid of them because nobody really knew anything about how the disease was transmitted or even what it was. So the sisters were pioneers and leaders in a compassionate care approach to that. And the thing that really attracted me to the sisters, I joined in 1987, was that we would go out in search of people in the community who were isolated and alone. And sometimes they would be sitting in the back of a dark bar, hunched over a cocktail, and we would just sit down and engage them in conversation. And a lot of these people who hadn't had any human contact for weeks or months would ask for a hug, and the sisters always said yes. And that's when I knew that I'd found the right group.
Great. Thank you so much for walking us down the experience. And, uh, you know, I also wanted to kind of carry forward with another question. Um, what was the major idea or kind of uh, thought process behind picking up the idea of, nuns or something which is very visibly imaginative of a specific religion or a faith, if I could say it in that way, and also the thought process which kind of comes in, like in India we have a saying, if there is a thorn you need to remove it from the thorn. So if there is intolerance which is because of a certain kind of a faith, religion, or whatever it is across country, you need to kind of bring in the idea of another thorn, which is again the idea of alternative religion, which can kind of counter or kind of remove the thorn out of a certain infected body. So I'm seeing it in that way. Having said that, what might be one of the reasons where this imagination kind of came in? And yeah, I think I will leave that question to start with.
Well, I love that expression. That analogy is actually very, very accurate. Now I'm catching your cold. I've got it all the way around the world. Now, I thank you so much. Excuse me. So that analogy is perfect because the sisters hold up a mirror to reflect the hypocrisy of organized religion. It's not even necessarily aimed just directly at Christians or Catholics. It's to point out the fact that more people have died, more people have been oppressed and tortured and enslaved and by organized religion than almost anything else in the world. And the problem that arises is when people decide to weaponize their religion and use it in a way to try and influence your beliefs and to make the things that they believe in law. And that's when they start to pass laws that take away our rights and see us as second-class citizens. So the sisters took on this image of the nuns, and we knew it would be controversial, and it still remains controversial today. There are a lot of people who simply cannot get past the fact that they think that they own God, that they own Jesus, that they own the image of the nun, and they think it's outrageous that we would make fun of them in such a way. And we're not. We're queer nuns. This is what queer nuns look like. This is what the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence look like. And we do much of the work of traditional nuns or people of faith all around the world. We're very active in our community and other communities. We support women, people of color, trans people. We feed the hungry. We minister to people who are suffering from addiction and depression. And we work with youth. And we actually just look around in the communities that we serve and we see any way that we can be of help or service, and we step up and we do it. And it's not, there's no malice behind it. I don't know any sister who sits around thinking about, oh, those Catholics, we're going to get them. We're not focused on that at all. The only time that it comes up is when they shoot some hate towards us.
You said something which is, very interesting, and I think I would take this up with my own practice of drag. Is like, you know, this is how queer nuns look like, and I think that is something which is image which always kind of pops up, and it creates a circle of trust. It creates a circle of belief when we are trying to look at individuals like the sisters to kind of bring out conversations, especially at the time of AIDS, where there was a lot of things which were going on across. So to kind of come back to our discussion, could you please also help us understand how the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, or the community, has kind of multiple faiths in it? Like, I kind of read about, it's not, it's an amalgamation of multiple nuanced ideas of faith. I think I heard you from one of your previous interviews, and every sister brings something new to the table. Could you please help us, dissect that as well?
Oh, absolutely. So the order started, as I mentioned, in San Francisco, and in a few years it started to spread. And the first orders that popped up, there were some sisters in Sydney, Australia, and then sisters in Seattle and sisters in Los Angeles were some of the first orders. Today, we have sisters all across the United States, including in the Bible Belt and in Florida, and some in Texas, very active sisters in Atlanta, Las Vegas, who do great work in their communities. And we also have sisters around the world. We have sisters in Berlin and Paris, and like we have sisters on 4 continents now. And it's so interesting to see that as the order has grown and our numbers have grown, everyone brings into the group a new interest and a new passion and raises awareness to something that they're interested in solving or helping. So we work with breast cancer, and we work with dentistry, and we work with prison reform and gun control. And the sisters are always sort of on the right side of history when it comes to supporting the quality of human life. We want people to be fair. We want people to feel equal and to feel seen and to feel cared for.
Great. Thank you so much for adding to that question. I also wanted to kind of ask you, how do you as an individual kind of face or combat religious intolerance when you are an artist? I remember reading about one of the instances where you were given an award, and then a certain kind of a political party walking out. I imagine that if you are contesting for an election, the entire political party would kind of wipe out from your United States, to be honest. And I think that should happen very fast in this particular world when everything is burning. So how do you tolerate in religious intolerance, or how do you tolerate hate which is thrown towards you?
So I think you're referring to the California State LGBTQ caucus in Congress invited me to be one of their Pride honorees in 2023. So I was actually invited to the state capitol along with other fantastic queer and trans award nominees. Like, there were so many great people that were recognized that day, but the certain faction of conservative far right Christians decided to take great offense and outrage. So there was a certain, conservative group of Christian nationalists and Catholics who decided to take great offense in the fact that I was being recognized with this honor. And a lot of the Republican lawmakers, the conservative lawmakers, decided to boycott the Senate floor that day. But I was invited. As the other nominees got to walk from the host hotel to the state capitol together as a group. I had to go in a car for my own safety. And I was told, I was brought in through the rear entrance, but I was told that there were as many as 1,000 Catholics holding a prayer circle outside the Capitol just because I was there in 2023. that still just boggles my mind. It's like these people clearly don't know me. They don't know anything about me, what I believe in, the work that I've done in the community, the fact that I respect their belief. I respect their right to worship however they choose. I would never tell someone, if you found something that brings you hope and joy and gives you faith, it's something to really believe in that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning. I wouldn't tell you that was wrong. I wouldn't tell you you can't do that. I applaud your faith and the hope and the joy that you feel. So knowing that those people were out there, some of the people in Congress, some of my allies and friends there were concerned about me, and they said, "Are you going to be okay with this?" And I said, "You know what? Yes, this is a huge honor. I'm being recognized by my peers and by people that I respect immensely." And they're entitled to do whatever they want to do. This is America. They can hold a peaceful protest. But I'm not going to let that squash my joy. Like, I'm never going to put and this is in the Bible, do not hide your talent, your light under a bushel. And that's something that I've always clung to because I'm not going to let them like steal my joy. It was a beautiful, exciting, glorious day. But as a result, things happen like death threats. I have had to open cases with the San Francisco Police Department because, thanks to the dark web, people find out my address and phone number, and it can be very scary. Um, Nothing has ever come to fruition from those threats, and they've been pretty hollow. And I'm not hard to find. I'm very, very busy. I host a lot of very public events, but I just have to sort of feel sorry for those people, honestly. I don't understand people who would choose to go through their lives hating people. And the same thing goes for people who are like trolls online who just can't wait to leave a horrible comment under a post that somebody makes. It's like, why are you so hurt? Why are you so unhappy? And why do you think that the way that you believe should influence what I believe and what I do? And like, can't we just sort of like mind your own business and like move on? But there are some people who can't. They just get off on being horrible. And it's just sort of comes with the territory, I guess. All of the sisters are quite familiar with that type of bigotry and hate, but we shine through it.
Indeed, I think it's also like queer people ourselves. We are our own manifestors. Like at anything which we which we think we are not fitting into, we create our own version of it. It might be the idea of faith. It might be a idea of working around. Even when in India, when same-sex relationships were criminalized, there were times where still there were a lot of queer individuals connecting with each other. I grew half of my life as a part of that subset of people who were kind of figuring out how to kind of navigate situations, or how to kind of connect with a person, how to see and meet a friend who is also queer in the neighborhood. So all of them are being materialized and kind of manifested across, and we are somebody who can survive at any given point in time as a queer individuals. So even hate is something which might see on the face, but we know how to survive. We know how to kind of take it and throw it outside. So I think that is something which has beautifully been put by you as well. And to the end of the conversation, which I quickly wanted to ask you, what is that one advice which you would like to give it to individuals, especially drag artists or queer individuals who are listening to you? Might be the words of wisdom, which would help us to kind of navigate in this more intolerant world which we are kind of heading to slowly and steadily.
Well, let me say, first of all, our birthdays are 2 days apart, but many years apart. But I am so impressed by you. You're so charming and so smart, and your wisdom is inspiring. So thank you for what you're doing. And I guess that my final word would be, you mentioned that the way that our community always survives and finds our own way, and that is true. We are magic. There's absolutely no denying, and there are some cultures in history that have recognized that. The two spirits, the shamans, were all queer trans people. And we are That's what they're afraid of. That's what these conservative forces, these people who fear change, who fear anybody that they don't understand that looks different from them, people of a different color, people from a different country. What do they eat over there? Like it's all so sad and it's all fear-based. And queer and trans people are fearless. And we will always survive. The things that we're seeing happening around the world today, including here in the United States, is these extreme right conservative ideas and beliefs are just pushing so hard back against the progress that we've made, and it's happening around the world. But the fact is, they can't stop us. We have always been here since the beginning of time, and we will always be here. And if there are any drag entertainers or performers or people out there, poets, writers, queer people who create art and who entertain and who are inspired to do something political, keep it up. Now is the time to be as loud and proud as we have ever been, and find strength in community and hold up our most vulnerable. And let's stick together and get through this. And I know we will.
Thank you so much for sharing it. And I think, these are the words which will definitely kind of help me run for the next 1 year and even more years to kind of come with the conversations. And I think it's also the timing. Like, I remember almost kind of being very vexed up with drag, which I was practicing in my state or in my city, which was a lot of push, which was a lot of bringing people together. And somewhere or the other way, this entire idea of podcast is connecting me with people like you, somebody who has transformed, who has lived this kind of life, and pushing people like me, inspiring people like me on this side. So thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much for sharing this valuable information, perspectives, as well as I would say anecdotes. And I think people who are listening to this particular conversation, you are gagging, I know that. So thank you so much for making it happen, and thank you once again, and advance happy birthday again to you.
And to
And I hope,
you.
yeah, and you would have a blast. And I will still kind of be connected. I will still be kind of seeking inspiration time to time, as and when we kind of follow. And thank you once again for giving this time.
Thank you so much.